All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 17th day of September, 2018. I'm already losing my voice. Well, it's Monday. Just and it's a 8 day, I believe, and it's all September's a fun month because oftentimes, when you're figuring out the numerology for the day, I'm not going to use the year because it's a master number. It's an 11 year, so that's illumination. And so I'm using that as a foundation. So when I do the daily numerology, I don't include the year. And that's by design, really. If it weren't a master number, I probably would, but it is, so I'm not going to do that. Anyway, 9 and 7 and 1 is 8, 9 and 8 is 17. So there you have, some synchronicity there. 9 is completion. 8 is an interesting one. It brings in emotions, it brings in cause and effect, it brings in harmony, practical matters, how we manifest. Sometimes I think it's the 8 of Cups in tarot, where the scene shows the individual leaving, and the cups are usually empty. Sometimes they're broken, sometimes they're turned over. But what it's saying is that you're leaving whatever emotions are no longer serving you. You're leaving all that behind, and you're going to go on to new challenges. So an 8 is kind of an interesting number in that regard. It's kind of an internal experience, really. Where you're coming to things are coming to their conclusion. As you get further on. 9 is completion. 10, the 10 card would be new beginnings because it reduces to 1. So, you see a progression numerologically where I hate to say that the even numbers are passive because in a sense they're not, and then the odd numbers would be catalytic or proactive. But I don't think it's quite that simple, although that can probably be said. But really, you can pretty much guide your life by whatever the numerology is of that day, and you just think about that, and you think about how you might how it's either manifesting in your life in a positive or negative way. What you can do to it can inform, maybe decisions that you make. Maybe it's a day of rest, and so you might not want to make a whole bunch of decisions that day about something. Maybe it's telling you, hey, give it another day. Give it just another day to think about. And so numerology, you don't have to get all crazy about it, but it can really, give you an extra bit of information, to help get you through your day. Just something to focus on. We forget that we are the creators of our world. Now, no, I didn't create this computer, although I bought it. I didn't create this mouse, although I bought it. But with my intention, I decided I wanted these things for a purpose. And so in a sense, what I did was I created this setting for myself, and this experience for myself. Collectively, we've all, as a society, created these things that we use in our lives, but at the same time, it's what we do with it. We can have all kinds of things happen to us in our lives that experiences that maybe we believe we've not chosen, but the big ones likely we chose before we came into form. So, we make a soul contract, with people, and we decide, well, we're going to do this and this, and I'm going to assist you here, and you're going to assist me here. So maybe, you go through a bunch of nonsense and you really don't know what it's for because you don't have the sense it was really for you. Maybe you were a player in someone else's learning experience, something they wanted to experience. And believe me, when I say that all of this was entered to enjoy, so, some of the crappy things we experience, maybe we entered into them in joy. So, maybe we give it too much weight. Maybe we can change how we see it, acknowledging that it's not a good thing, but it doesn't have to upend our lives either. So, again, it's all just about choice and how we choose to create the experiences that we have, or at least our participation maybe in the experiences that we have. Um, how do we, how we keep ourselves centered and responding. Well, there goes a couple cards on the floor. Here we go. The deal is that in tarot that if you drop them on the floor, those are your cards for the day. And what I dropped on the floor was the Hierophant and the Two of Wands. So we'll see if I actually end up pulling either of those two. But anyway, let's go ahead and pull the cards before I drop them all on the floor. I think I'm done shuffling. If it's the first time you've been here, thank you for coming by. I appreciate it. Welcome. Oh, well, it's a two at least. It's the Two of Swords. What I do, 13 figures prominently in my life. I'll just tell you that. I was born on the 13th of October, and lots of 13s in my life. And so when I do these readings, I count 13 and pull a card. If I'm doing just my own tarot work, if I'm doing it, in ritual or just my own divination, sometimes I'll do 13. Every card I'll pull is the 13th one if it's something that I really, 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 really need to know. And so it's kind of one of those things where, okay, I know that if I get whatever this is, that's going to be significant. So that's why I use that. But anyway, Swords is about our intellectual presence. It's about the mind. It's about communication. It's about how our interactions in the world with one another and in situations. Typically, the Two of Swords indicates a decision. The woman is dressed in white. She's got her arms crossed. She's got two swords, one in each hand. We see a moon above. We see choppy water behind, but her back is turned to all of the chaos, isn't it? Okay. And what she's doing, she's blindfolded as well. So she's trying to tune out the noise, trying to tune out all of the drama so that she can make a decision. And in this case, it looks like it's an either or, cause and effect maybe, or one thing or the other. And she's having to make it in a dispassionate way, isn't she? Oops, let me break my magnifying glass here. I mean, when you look at this card, it is an extraordinarily simple card, but it sends a very powerful message nevertheless. She's going to ignore she's going to ignore all of what's going on behind her, and she's going to figure out what she needs to do. But she's doing it by going within. She's getting quiet, and she's just seeing things for what they are. She's cutting through the illusion, basically, and coming to a decision. But let's see if we can pull another card. Sometimes I do that, especially if I pull a court card. I'll pull a second card because court cards, you just never know. But let's see if we can get a little more information about this decision that she wants to make. I just find this card really fascinating. In any deck, of course, this is the Rider-Waite deck that I'm using, and it's the traditional one. But I don't care, non-traditional decks, it doesn't matter what it is. They all seem to describe that same process of going within and, coming to center without all the drama influencing, all the internet, all the social media, all the forums, all the noise. It's not that you can't get information that's important there. It's just that sometimes there's just too much of it, and you got to take time to sit back and just figure out, okay, what's really going on here? What's the best course of action that I need to take? So let's count 13 again and see what we come up with. Well, another card of balance, because that's what the two is as well. It's also a card of balance, balanced perspective. This is an 11, which is justice. So you could reduce it again to 2, but we're not going to because that's illumination, isn't it? It's the master number 11. But here we see the king, although it kind of looks like a queen, doesn't it? Might be. It's hard to tell in the robe. But in non-traditional decks, it's always a woman. But sometimes when they draw these cards, you don't, you can't really tell. The Crowley depicts it as a woman. A lot of cards depict it as a woman. But I've never been able to tell if this is a woman or not. Perhaps it is. It just looks so androgynous. It's hard to see. But we see the 2 pillars on either side. We see the sword in one hand, and we see the scales in the other. Balanced intellect, balanced reason, justice. So clearly, something's happening in this woman's life that is requiring a decision that's based on reason and justice and right thinking. So clearly, whatever decision that this is important for her. We got to get it right. Now, whether this is a decision that you have to make in your own personal life or whether it's something that's, in the world around us, we're having to make a lot of decisions now about what we're seeing and hearing politically, and we don't know for sure how it's all going to shake out. It kind of looks like it's going in a particular direction, but you never know. It could change. We just don't know. But at the same time, we're going to have to tune out the noise to figure it all out. I think that's probably our greatest example of something like that right now. But if our lives are chaotic, you've got to come to a still point and you've got to sit down and take a few moments or even a few more moments and figure out what is really, happening in your life and what's the best way to go, how to move, even if you have to choose one thing or another, there's a way to do that, that doesn't necessarily, throw the baby out with the bathwater. You have to do things with integrity. That's what the justice card is saying. Perhaps what's happening in her life, you know, maybe there's not a lot of integrity around her, or maybe she doesn't express a lot of integrity in her life. And she's having to come to that decision here that, I've got to make a decision that's based on justice and fairness and what's maybe best for the greater good, even if it doesn't necessarily, do what I want, maybe that's not what's needed at this time. Maybe what's needed is something else. And so we have to have the dispassionate viewpoint to be able to even choose something that might not benefit us as much as it does someone else, but it's the right thing to do. And so that's what we're thinking about with this, I think. And here we have Fehu, which is the first rune of the Elder Futhark. Now, Fehu is usually translated as cattle or wealth, but it's wealth that's movable. When you think cattle, you can move it around, right? You graze it around over here, and then you move them over there. And if you were back in the tribal times, if you were nomadic, you might have livestock that as you move about, traveling about, exploring this place and that place, you take that with you. It can be viewed as currency. So if you had to trade for arms or you had to trade for something else, you might be able to trade a cow or some other livestock for something else that you needed. And so Fehu gets things going. It's known as the sending rune. And so in rune magic, you could use it to actually focus, to send the intention of whatever it is you're doing. If you were, say, you were doing a ritual for healing, and you were going to do you're going to use a bind rune for healing, you could use Fehu in it as a sending force to send healing out in other words, to cast your intention into the ether or to the universe or into the collective consciousness. You can use Fehu, you can chant Fehu as you send it, and that gives it that extra energy to cast that intention that you're trying to do. So in that case, in the case of that particular example, it would be healing for someone. or collectively, you know, we have the hurricane that's devastated the eastern seaboard, basically, or portions of it. Some of these folks may not be able to go back to their homes. They may be completely destroyed. I haven't looked at the news today, so I don't know what's going on, but the flooding alone, inland, not just on the coastline, has been devastating. And so, a nice ritual for healing might, you know, include, you know, using Fehu to help cast that intention in a wide fashion to help these folks heal, and to align those energies so that, you know, they can get back to their lives and in whatever, you know, and fix whatever has been broken in them. So, but it also tells us that there's a sense of urgency about this, that it's time to, so and since we're talking about making a decision that's based on justice, there's a certain sense of urgency that I always feel when I draw Fehu. It's like, okay, sit up and take notice. This needs to happen. We need to come to terms with this now. There's no time left. We need to, that our whole legacy perhaps depends on it. It's like if you forget to pay a bill, you know, you forget to pay your power bill. Oh my God, you got to pay your bill. They're going to turn off the lights. Well, you know, it happens. You know, it doesn't mean that you don't have the money, but just maybe you thought you did it and you didn't do it. Well, there's a sense of urgency. Fehu helps you get that intention going, and so when I see this coupled with a decision that needs to make that we need to make, that tells me that there's a sense of urgency about it. So, kind of like time is running out. I mean, not exactly, but there's just that kind of that push, maybe. Let's draw another rune. I don't usually do that. Let's do that. 2 cards and 2 runes today. It's a Monday, why not? For those of you who haven't seen a rune being drawn, I just let them fall through my hand in the bag. These are hawthorn runes. I made them from a hawthorn tree. You have to ask permission. That's a fairy tree and a witch tree. So you have to ask permission if you're going to take something. Even hawthorn berries, which I've been picking. Well, we have Vunyo, and that's joy, isn't it? It's the 8th rune of the Elder Futhark, so we have an 8-day. Sometimes when we have a decision to make, sometimes when we're just not sure about something, it's like we sit in this place, you know, and we can't really get beyond it because we don't really, you know, we don't know what direction we want to go in. Vunyo is about relationships. It's about joy and happiness. What gives happiness? It's an earth element rune. My light keeps going off on the computer. It's about fellowship and empathy and contact with like-minded people. It can be used to attract a partner, but it's kind of the happily ever after rune. So we know with Vunyo that once this is done and it's based on justice, all right, and reason, and respect, then the outcome is joy. The outcome is a coming together of people in harmony. It seems like we don't have a lot of that right now. But the outcome of this, all of this chaos after the decision that we make, I don't know, maybe it's talking about the election in November, I don't know. But if we do the right thing that's based on justice and reason, we can achieve some harmony and joy, some harmonious interactions with people versus the, oh my God, I don't want to talk to you because, you know, you voted for him or you didn't vote for him. So you're a supporter, you're not a supporter, you know. And based on that, you know, families don't talk to one another anymore. Based on that, friends don't talk to one another, neighbors don't talk to one another. This has become such a division, you know, this whole thing that's going on, that we don't really, there's a sense of unease, a general unease that we shouldn't have to live through. We all just need to be able to go about our lives, and try to be as happy as possible. But when there are so many landmines everywhere now and so many triggers, and it reminds me of the Supreme Court thing. We got to make a decision here. We have one branch of the government, one political party that won't allow the truth to come out about this man. So now we have someone who's come out that says she was assaulted by him. True, it was a long time ago, but the fact that no one will let anything else come out, the fact that all these documents that we've always had forever on anyone that's up for nomination, you know, the decision that they make has got to be based on justice. And because this card came up, it could very likely have to do with this. Now the woman in question has come out. We know who she is. And she's going to, no doubt, testify. I mean, she should. I know she would like to. And they need to let her do that so that we know what she has to say. And to give other women, should there be any, because behavior like that that's so violent typically isn't a one-time thing. So if that's true, and I don't know, I wasn't there. I don't know this man. I don't know who he is. I don't know his life. I don't, by all appearances, he brings his wife and children, and you hear all about the team that he coaches and that he's this guy, but apparently he's also this guy. So if that's true, which she's passed a lie detector test, so it's not like she's been gunning for him forever, right? She's gone about her life as best she can. And for people to say, oh, well, why didn't she come forward sooner? Well, if you've never been raped, if you've never been sexually assaulted, if you've never been molested, if you've never had a man put his hands on you in a way that you don't want or that is fundamentally criminal, you don't know what that does to a woman. Typically, this happens, in her case, she was in high school. What this does to a child, all right? This is what we're talking about. And so there's nothing after a point that she can actually do about it, right? It didn't result in something really awful that, a rape, apparently, but she was in fear for her life and she was in fear of being raped. That alone is a crime, to do that to someone, all right? That's a crime. So now we're going to sit and debate, well, is it just youthful indiscretion? No, it was a crime. And it speaks to character. So did he move past all of that? Maybe. But maybe we need to slow this process down and find out more about this man. Release all of the documents so they can be evaluated so we actually know who it is we're putting on the court. And if he's not fit, then we shouldn't put him there. So maybe this is the decision we need to make, and maybe this is just an obvious one today. Maybe it's about the Supreme Court nomination, and that we have to look at this with some dispassion so that we understand what really went on, so we know who this guy is. But if it isn't that, and it's just simply about decisions we need to make in our own life, let those be based on justice and reason and fairness and balance. And know that that doesn't necessarily mean 50-50, that it's okay that someone else maybe comes out ahead sometimes, that that's the just thing to do. So it's just not something that needs to necessarily be equal for justice to be served. So think about that, and think about how that can be a pathway to joy. when we live in balance and we don't have chaos in our lives, the kind of joy that that can bring. So, in any event, I think that's all I've got for today. Go over and check out the blog. I put some stuff up on there this weekend at imsteppingaside.com. It's called Stepping Aside. And um, I'll post this over there as well. I post it on the side now. I don't post it in the main body anymore. I figured out how to do that. It's always fun, isn't it? I do my website myself. And fortunately, WordPress does it in a way that they have themes. And so it makes it easy to structure things because you choose a theme and it just does it for you. And then you can choose your colors and, you can put pictures up and do what, you can dress it up the way you want to. They're limiting. There's some aspects of the one I'm working with right now, that I'm using right now that I don't actually care for, but it's probably out of all of them that I've used, I probably like it the best. So, so go check it out. It's a fun place, I think, anyway. It's a witchy place. You might like it. So, anyhow, thanks so much. If this is your first time coming by, thank you so much for coming. Hope you come back and subscribe if you like. And have a lovely day. And we'll see you tomorrow. Blessed be.